right place. We always have to make a new fire with fresh coal and wait until it starts getting red. See it start getting red. This yellow would be smoky.
How long does that usually take for it to get to the right temperature?
Well, it'll be just a minute or two. It's almost there now. Now the screen. See the color change? Can you see the color change?
It's going from yellow to red. Is it more red now?
Yes, it's more red now. It's just almost to the place. And I'll cut down the speed.
And the purpose, you're trying to get the coal tar?
Yes, and the coal tar, when it first comes off the coal, it's almost like varnish. As it comes up in the fire, it changes to a dry black, and then as it goes on up farther in the fire, it becomes smoke.
You want to put it at the right level.
It has to be in the right place in the fire. If I was up in there, I'd be in smoke. If I was down close to the fire, I'd be in... That's just about right. It's dry. Give me the other piece. Now, if I was doing this in production, these pieces would all be flat. Now I'll show you what happens if you have it in the wrong place in the fire. Right there, maybe, I guess it's run, but you can see it run.
What?
See it stick?
It's stick or thick?
Stick. It sticks. Now if I put it up here like this, that's why it's in the fire.
Comes back off. It won't stick.
Comes all off. It doesn't stick. It's in the right place in the fire. Now if I put it down too low in the fire, see, it's gummy.
Too much on there.
Yeah, it's a different character. Now that'll all, well, it'll either be hard to get off or else it'll come off entirely.
This is just right on this surface.
And that's just about right.
Would you put the finish on both sides?
I put this on both sides.
This process of putting the coal tar, where did that originate?
Well, that's the thing that Winmaloggers thought they could patent. And they tried to get a patent on it, and they found it wasn't patentable because it comes naturally when you work. If you're working a bar and heating the bar while you get that on naturally. It's just part of the work. People have done that from the beginning. It's also true, you see, I I can handle this. I put that in the fire and I handle it. Now I've had this in there several times and it's so hot I can hardly handle it.
See, normally you wouldn't do it that much. You would be in and out. And
oh yeah, you have to do
it
it
going right.
The fact of the matter is, if it's cold, it works better than when it's hot.
If the metal's cold.
Yeah, the metal's cold. Okay, that's it. Let's go over to the other table here.
I'm going to move right over here.
I love that smell.
Mm.
Now this is 4/0 steel wool, and I bought it from the factory and had the factory make it especially for me because when they make it with oil. And if you have oil in them, it's hard to polish. But they can't do a good job unless they make it with oil, so it's kind of a combination. And what I wound up by doing was I would get it from the factory. Here's like this.
This is how you'd buy it?
That's how I'd buy it.
In a roll?
Mm-hmm.
Then what would you do with it?
Well, then I would take it, and if it had oil in it, I would take it and put it in a dry cleaning bag like this. It's a dry cleaning bag, and I would take it to the dry cleaner, and he'd run it through his process and take the oil out of it.
Dry clean the steel wool.
Yeah, you dry clean the steel wool. Then you had a steel wool without.
In other words, the company that you got it from, did they eventually make it without the grease, or you?
Oh, they would make it, but it wasn't as good a quality.
So you bought the other stuff and degreased it.
Yeah, that's right. I degreased it myself.
Now, this process, you would just take
You're watching me, aren't you?
You would take the smoke off, or the tow car off.
Yeah. You take part of it off. That's the trick, to take part of it off. Now, if you put it on real heavy, it sticks, but it...
What's the purpose of it? To make the design show up better?
Yeah, we'll make it antique looking. And highlighting the design.
Would you do anything to the back?
Well, you sure have to clean it off the back.
That coal tar, how long would that stay on there after you've done finishing it? How long does it stay on there?
It stays on there till you wash it off or scrub it off with a detergent or do something at home. So this is one of the things that is not very satisfactory. It makes it look nice when your people buy it, but it can't. If you use it, you lose it. I've never been very happy about the whole situation.
This process you would always do, though, after you shaped it. Or would you do this?
No, I do this before we shape it. Do it flat. Then you don't have the problem of trying to go up in the corners. You just do it flat. Everything flat. And then form it afterwards. You might have to touch it up a little bit afterwards. But you don't have this problem of trying to get up into corners. Now, you have to take a wad and you clean out the edge. I think I told you that, well, I told you that the edge that you made with the shear was a little rough, but by the time you work the metal by hammering it and it moves, and you hit it there, the edge is good enough. At one time we would grind the edge off and make it smooth, but it was something you could do without. How about that other one, son? At one period two, we would use, if you got too much on, or if you got it on that heavy, you would use a wax with it.
Would the wax help it come off?
Yeah, take it off. But I figured that
Let me pick it up.
Pretty good.
I thought that the
That's
wax,
the way it's comes. As you work it so that you see the outline of the design.
which is to me is the one of the secrets of a good design, that the outline is the most important thing of the design. When you're making a design, you think in the terms of the outline, because the outline is the thing that shows up at the end, and the outline is more important to the design than the interior of the design. Now, some other people don't agree with me with this, but this is my theory. That to make a good design, you have to have a good outline, perimeter.
In other words, it has to be pleasing. It has to be correct. It has to be.
You have to have a pleasing outline and lots of outline. If you cut the whole thing, you don't have any outline. Now, there's a spot on there where either it's been touched by a greasy hand, or for some reason the color didn't stick there too well, so it has to be blended in, but that's something that I don't like. I may go over there and stick it in the fire again, but that wouldn't do for production.
In other words, you would have it set up so that you would be doing a whole group of things all at once.
Oh, well, yes, that's the secret of making anything from a business standpoint, is to do it so that you have a production. Can't do it like we're doing and make any money. The name of the game is to make money. If you're in business, if you're doing it for yourself, like I do my things at my home, I don't care how much time I put on it. But it's always a matter of it's a matter of taste, how much of this you take off, too.
Who did you have do that for you? Who did that work? Who did the finishing work?
Well, Charlie Ray did it for years, and then in the end, Jimmy Vincent did. Now, Jimmy Vincent is a craftsman, but he liked to do this.
So it takes a certain degree of, a skill to know when it's ready, when it's done.
I myself always put the color on.
You were the color man.
Well, in later years, Charlie, who did the...
You were the
If
smoker.
you have one person who does this and the other guy who's taking it off, and they don't agree, well, then that's bad, see? But since it was my money, I tried to do it.
Your way.
Well, I tried to do it the way that the next man could do it efficiently and easily. Anytime where you have different operations and different workmen working on a thing, the man who's doing the one job has a tendency not to think about the next man. It's like in the building construction, you have the people bring the framers, put up the frame, and then along comes the plumber, and he cuts out the frame, and he he gripes at the person who put up the frame, and then along comes the electrician, and he has to put in the stuff in the. And then the painter at the end, he says, well, those guys hadn't loused up everything else, and my painting job wouldn't be so hard.
But you tried to work it out so everybody worked in sequence and
Yeah,
got the
work
job
it out
done.
and work together. Now you see, you wouldn't have to do this operation if it was done flat. You wouldn't have these corners. You wouldn't have this black in all the corners. And when you go across, as I told you at the beginning, you have to go everything in the same direction. I'm violating that by going the other way because I can't do it, but it doesn't make for a good finish when you see, ordinary, you just should go up over the edge like that. That's impossible. These handles, of course, would be put on afterwards, so they wouldn't go through the fire and be a time-consuming thing.
As your business evolved, this particular piece was something you made early in your.
Oh yeah,
in your
these
production.
handles were something I made early. I discontinued the handles. They were too much work. They're nice, but they're too much work. Now this is the one where I put that sticky stuff on, see?
So it's actually too much. Or it's
Too
the wrong,
much for a good,
too much, but it's the wrong chemical connection.
well, it's, comes out of the fire, it comes out like this, and it goes into the dry area where you have a dry color, and then you get up to the top and you get smoke where you don't have any color at all. That's a little tricky. But if the thing isn't smooth, then you've got to work out these places where it didn't take. And
Is there any way that if the whole thing's a mess, to get rid of it all and start over?
well, you could take off
Is there
in
any,
a cleaning agent, take it, but you can't start over.
what was the wax? You said you could use some wax at one point.
Well, wax helps you take it off. But I don't like wax because after wax, wax has a tendency to get white and grayish. So when I did my own things, I just discontinued the wax business. But the wax is a way that you can speed up the operation because it'll take the color off faster.
In other words, it works as a solvent, somewhat of a solvent.
It is a solvent, yeah, the
What
wax.
kind of wax was it?
Well, I don't know whether I have.
Carnauba, is that a brand name of wax?
No, that's a type, a Carnauba tree excretes wax. I think in the leaves, I'm not sure, it comes from India or someplace like that.
What was it intended for, the wax? Would you put it on furniture or what?
Was mostly at one time they waxed automobiles all the time. And you can wax anything, it's a protective coat.
This was another one of these pieces we found up Georgia, North Carolina somewhere.
I keep looking around the shops and I'll see this stuff. Going to Sally. They had some of this stuff over on Mercer. They wanted $55 for one of these ones.
Where at? Which place?
It was over at the Trinity Presbyterian Church.
And was it
This was before I kind of got involved in all this.
Oh, it was like a flea market type of time.
Well,
yeah,
and-
during the Victorian days.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Was it some of Dad's stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
now you see where I put that on heavy, it does a good job, and
Makes me look a lot
So
different
it
than was.
left here without that on it? It had to have been.
No, this is 40 years old.
So it had been washed and.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, all the cycles, and I found it in an antique shop.
so I sanded it at home.
Oh, okay.
And I took out all any scratches that were in it.